Guys, welcome back to another episode of One Step at a Time with your host, the Ocean Flight 111, heading straight to full potential with zero delays. Guys, it's been a while. It's been a while since I saw I'm kind of feeling a bit rough around the edges, you know. My gears are a bit stuck. They're not too lucid. They're not too fluid. They're not too agile. Can gears be agile? I don't know. Yeah, wow, it's been a whole month since the Solo Dolo episode. I don't think I've done a Solo Dolo episode since New York. Damn, over a month ago since New York. Crazy trip. Wow, what a time to be alive. Eh? You gotta go, guys. You really gotta go. For the people who listened to the New York episode, really enjoyed it. Appreciated that. I had some really nice feedback about that episode. Some really nice feedbacks. That was nice, guys. It made my belly feel warm. You know, the warm chemicals that makes your belly feel good. You feel good about yourself when you look in the mirror. Something we might discuss today. Looking in the mirror. Yeah, it's going to be a general update. I know on the Solo Dolos, I do have themes, but I'm kind of going to get into like work, fear, things becoming overwhelming, and identity, because I chat about that a good bit. But yeah, guys, how you been? How have I been? How you been? Hey, stop asking me how have I been. How you been? What you been up to? Have you been in the flow? Are you chasing something? Do you have purpose? Are you lost? Are you looking forward to things? What's the crack? Where are you at in your life? Where are you at in your journey? This podcast is always about me. Always the Ocean Flight. How about we put the attention on you, Yeah, I hope you've been keeping well though, guys. Obviously we're coming into October now, which is madness. Just celebrated a year of the podcast. There, 2 days ago was a year since I started the podcast. It wasn't the best day now. I only realized that night. I was like, I gotta be careful here because my chair is a bit squeaky. I only realized, I was like, oh wow, it was a year since I started the podcast. Damn, what a year. So I suppose that could be the theme. The podcast is a year old. I want to cover fear. I won't lie, this is a freestyle episode, guys. I'm freestyling off the cuff. And you know me, I do freestyle a lot anyways, like. When it comes to the interviews, like, I do be fairly prepared. And you'll see that with the next episode with John Kilmer. Shout out that. God, that was a great conversation. Fucking hell. Shout out John Kilmer, boy. Meant a lot to me, that episode too. And I look forward to getting to know John more as time passes on. Yeah, man, shout out, good dude. And I won't lie, I give myself the pat on the back, guys, because I know how to spot them. I really do. I do know how to spot them. But yeah, gonna go into just some recent stuff, and also it's a year since the podcast. Wow. So yeah, what has the podcast taught me? Where are we at with the podcast, and where are we going with the podcast? So 1 second, let me take a cough here and just clear out the system of the symptoms so we can have a lot of brim fun. Now, what rhymes with system? Win fun. Symptoms, syndrome, fun syndrome. Give me 1 second there. Right, let's get into it. Damn, a year ago I started the podcast. So I suppose, where was I a year ago in my life is the question. And what made me start the podcast a year ago? Well, first of all, guys, where I'm at now in my life compared to last year are two dramatically separate stories. I haven't really spoken a lot about where I was precisely at last year. Because just like, you know, sometimes things happen in your life and you don't promote them on Instagram or you don't chat about them to every person you meet, you know. But basically, This time last year, I wasn't really in the best of position. We were trying to build a business. I'd actually, as time goes on, I'll open up more about it. But for the time being, I'll just chat so much about it, if that's okay, guys. Hey guys, my name is Martin, and I'm gonna share this for the time being, if that's okay. And maybe as we go on, I might tell you more. But basically, I'd moved in with one of my good friends' families last year, um, and it wasn't for the options of I didn't have other options. Very grateful that I had other options. Like I had my actual home, which is beautiful. So I did have that option, and then I did have option to stay with friends and whatnot. And I wouldn't say I was in the position now to financially rent in anywhere in Ireland. Maybe Cavan. I don't know. Maybe I could afford it renting Cavan. So like, to put it in perspective, very grateful could have moved home, but I made the decision to move in with one of my good friends, them and their family, which was a beautiful experience. Really was. Very grateful for that experience. But at the same time, it was a position I found myself in that probably wasn't where I thought I was going to be at that period of my life, and financially. Like, I wasn't in the best financially. So I was very grateful for that experience, but obviously, like, it was definitely a learning curve for me and understanding my journey and whatnot. But anyways, that aside, just to me as a person, yeah, I wasn't in a very open, fruitful, self growth, or even self fulfillment, because I wasn't really making music. I was jogging a little, but like, I wasn't putting myself in a position to really reap the rewards or reap the benefits of like all the work I have done over the years. But anyhow, a lot of that time last year was just a lot of simplicity. And I actually, around when I started the podcast this time last year, I actually started therapy for the first time. So funny enough, that was directly in line when I started therapy. And this podcast has become therapy. Like, it's become therapy. Like, it's amazing that I can get to sit here and just chat for an hour or whatever it's going to be today, and let you guys in to my inner life, like my inner vulnerabilities and insecurities and worries, and also passions and purpose and activities, fun and joyful experiences. Like, I'm really like let you in and like share what I've learned in bits and pieces and get people on to share what they've learned. And yeah, it's so powerful. I remember when I started it, I didn't start it on video. It was just recordings. So the first couple episodes were just recording. And it's funny when you start something like this, you're just making it up as you go along. Because like, you obviously read the tutorials or watch the tutorials on YouTube. Pardon me. But when you actually start doing it, especially if you're doing solo dolo episodes, I call them solo dolo episodes. Maybe I need to call them something else so everyone else understands them. And sorry if I keep burping, I just had a sandwich. But I was making it up as I go along, and I quickly discovered that while I was doing therapy, I quickly began to realize that, like, wow, this is therapy. Because the same way music, I can put my energy and worries and emotions and energy into 3 minutes. It's the same when I get to sit here and just chat, because I previously would have stated it, but how many times a week do you sit down and speak out loud what's happening in your life? When kind of no filter for the most part. Like, how often do you do it? Like, it's really fucking beneficial. Now, do I think everybody needs to start a podcast and share their life? Probably not. But what I've learned from doing the podcast is something so powerful that you could do to just start learning about yourself is just for an hour a week, grab your phone. Everyone has a mobile these days, a smartphone. Put on the video, press record, and just speak. Just speak exactly what's happening in your life, where you're going, what you're doing, and the little things, like the actual minute habits throughout your day, not just the big things like a job or an appointment or a big dream. Like actually the little things. And guys, it's like your journal. Like especially if you're chatting it out loud, you'll first hear yourself saying it, realize when you're saying it, right? Wait, I do that? Because you come so desensitized and whatever you're doing becomes so normal that like you forget that you even do it. It's so beneficial, guys. It's so positive. So yeah, if you did want to start learning about yourself, turning your phone on for an hour a week and just pressing record and just talking, you're going to start to learn a lot about yourself, And that's exactly what this is. And I guess it's interesting because I was saying this, I hadn't actually mentioned this previously, but I started going to a dermatologist with my skin. Now, my skin probably look great when this is out. Shout out editing. But Martin, I thought you were authentic. Guys, everybody edits, okay? All right. And I actually realized something. She's a really wonderful lady. And we were speaking because she's into dermatology. She's into like the holistic health, and all parts of everything leads to like the acne, not just your skin, like how you're feeling, your emotions, your stress, everything like as one. Shout out my boy Gary Patterson, Holistic Health. Can't remember what episode that was. Great listen, guys, if you want to listen to that episode. But I said something when I was chatting to her about the podcast. I was like, when I feel like I've healed from something and I've processed a lot of it, I'm able to put it on a plate or serve it on a dish, and there you go, guys. Take from that what you will, or have an opinion, or appreciate it or not appreciate it. And that's what I mean by that is, when it comes to what I speak about, I put out in the world, it's because I've processed a lot of it and I've healed a lot of it. Now, a lot of the time, it's not all healed. And I've learned that. But that's why I'm able to put a lot of my vulnerabilities out, because I've spent so much time processing it and healing it that I'm not going to say that I'm detached from it, but I'm separated now from the trauma. Does that make sense? Or the pain so much. Not that I've tried to run away from it. I've kind of gone through it, and I'm like, there you go. So that's why I have no problem. It's not something I delve into a lot, but I have no problem mentioning about times when I may have been suicidal or close to that, or insecurities throughout the podcast. I'm trying to think, what have I mentioned? I've mentioned a lot. So that's why I'm able to speak about it. Well, I can speak about it like in therapy, but I mean speak about it in the open, just push it out in the world for anybody to look at it. But saying that, because it made me realize something. Something happened to me in April, where a best friend is no longer my friend, and really fucked with me. Really fucked with me. So I haven't spoken about it in the podcast, and I was thinking, that was back in like April, and I was thinking to myself, probably by September time or October, November, I'll probably speak about it then, because I probably would have went through the process of it. And I did. I was doing therapy when it happened, and I will speak about it in depth in the future. But for now, long story short, just a best friend just cut me out of their life, just cut me out. Yeah, wouldn't have a phone call, just a couple of text messages, boom, that was that. And that really, that really hurt me. That really, really hurt me. How much did that hurt me? I'm not gonna say it didn't destroy me. It didn't go like rip me apart or anything, but it did. It was like a below the belt punch that really ripped through my wholesomeness and love and kindness and sensitive areas of my soul. And that, yeah, it was painful. As it should be when you love someone dearly and then they're not there anymore. It's kind of the way it works. But there was a very unique set of circumstances, and yeah, it really hurt me. But anyhow, it's not so much about what happened as what's happening. So that happened, and I was going through therapy at the time with it, and doing a hell of a job of processing it, like a really good job. I was like, damn, I'm doing a fucking hell of a job for like having a best friend for 4 years. Her just fucking cut me out, stabbed me in the back, basically, was what I felt like. And now I'm processing it. I'm healing. This is what people mean by therapy and it working. So that happened. I unfollowed and whatnot and blocked on socials. Hey, agree or disagree with that, that's down to you, but I did. And for a good few months, it started to drift away. I started not to think about it. Person I'd bring it up from time to time, but yeah, I'd started not to think about it. And I was like, it's pretty good. Like that's kind of started to go away. And I made a couple songs. I think I only made like a song or two about it too. And the songs weren't great. I think I only made a song about it too. And I always speak, when it comes to making music, sometimes I can't formulate words to match the emotions while I'm going through the emotions in that current moment. Sometimes I have to go through something, in hindsight, I'm able to step back then and write a song about it, formulate the lyrical content or capture the moment, I guess, capture the dynamic in musical form. So I didn't really make any songs about it. Had a lot of anger, but that loosened out and began to like just float away like leaves in the pond. Until. Tell us, Martin, until what? What happened? Where are you going with this? All right. Until when? Until... Now take in mind, it's not like I deleted them from my mind. You don't delete anyone. They drop in your mind from time to time. But it was like, go say like 6 weeks ago. Was it 6 weeks? No, it wouldn't have been 6 weeks. It would have been about a month ago. Maybe 3.5 weeks ago. I just had a dream. It was a normal dream. And the person popped up and just made a joke. And we just joked. And then I woke up. And then I realized, that person's not in my life anymore, and I wouldn't want that person in my life ever again, unfortunately. But fuck me, man. It was the realization, and it's the grief of like, it's not the same as losing somebody to dying. So let's not try to compare that. That's another kettle of fish. But you can't dismiss that it is grief when you have someone and know someone for a long period of time and then they're just gone from your life. You do grieve. And then I woke up and I realized, oh man, that person's not in my life anymore. And for anyone who's, be it a relationship or a close friend, if you spend a lot of time in communication with someone for a long period of time and they're very close to you, and then all of a second they're just not there, It's tough. It's really tough. So yeah. So when I woke up, man, the anger came back a little bit, because the anger of like, how could you rip into my kindness? How how could you dismiss it with the treatment? Like, it wasn't the result of it ending. It was the not the context. It was the methods and treatment of how it came to a close that, like, it felt, be it was this way or not, it felt like just someone got my kindness, stamped on it, and spit on it. That's what it felt like. Now, it might sound like I'm over exaggerating, but if you're trying to convey your emotions with words, that's what it felt like. It felt like someone just spat on my kindness and spat on my most vulnerable sides and said, yeah, delete, waste, gone. So, yeah, that anger came back. And when the anger came back, bruh, what else came back? The fucking tunes. So I wrote a couple songs, and I wrote this really powerful poem, which I might read now. Will I read it? Yeah, let's read the poem. Let's read the poem. I didn't plan on reading the poem. How are we? We're 21 minutes in. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, guys, doing good. Great work, guys. Great work. Let's get this poem. We're going to take a quick interval here. I'll just edit this bit. Okay, so here is the poem that I wrote. You ready? I give you something to believe in. Heard you laugh, heard you weep. Now you just make me sad when I see you in my dreams. 4 years exploded in one moment, no response for 3 weeks. I send a message, you ignore it. Why you acting also mean? I give you something to believe in. Cheered for all your hidden gifts. Helped you believe in yourself and picked you up when you tripped. I give you something to believe in. Spent hours on the phone laughing for you to spit in my face and delete me like a piece of waste. I give you something to believe in. Showed you a world that was so kind. Showed you how your heart will guide you if you want to close your eyes. Celebrated who you were and screamed with love when you fly. So how you gonna act like I don't exist, like I disappeared and died? I give you something to believe in. Trusted you till the toughest end. Through the stress, I told you I would still always be your bestest friend. Delete me from your phone, but can't delete my impact. I guess the best thing for you was stab me right in the back. I give you something to believe in. So yeah, that is the poem. Wow. I didn't think I was going to say that today. But anyhow, yeah, that's the poem. So I say all this, I kind of went on that story. I hadn't even planned on doing that, but look. I say all that to, the reason I haven't spoken about it now in depth is because it still hurts. And I can't give something away that still hurts. And even the way I spoke about it there, I didn't go into depth. Like, it's very surface level. But it's hard for me to give anything out in the world that's still hurting me right now to a large extent. Like, I talk about things that do hurt, but, you know, there's levels of things. That's why I find it easier to chat about certain things versus sometimes what's going on right then. Same way with music. I find it hard to tell people until time has passed and I can talk about it then. So yeah, that's just something I realized there. When it comes to themes and topics and chatting about stuff. And man, it's still a crazy thing, I guess, learning what to talk about and how to give value, because there's just so many people doing what I do. And I know why I'm different and this platform is different, but it's coming with all the correct tools to construct that and really like present that at a high level. Because I haven't, guys, like, I've just let it slide, and it's so hurtful that I've let it slide, that like it's in a great position, but I've made a lot of mistakes there the last 2 months with the poddy. A lot of mistakes. Little fuck ups and stuff. And it hurts when you care about something, you don't give its proper treatment. And for that, guys, I'm sad to say that this episode is the last. Psych! Psych! Gotcha! Alrighty then. Martin, why'd you do that to us? I don't know. I felt like I was building up anticipation. Am I fuck quitting the fucking podcast? Yeah? It's only the beginning. We're going to the fucking moon. Yeah, I might fuck quitting the podcast. Podcasts only get better and better. But that was kind of siding from the point of distracting. But I have made a lot of mistakes. But I was on my phone, and there's this girl who started a podcast about a year ago, same time as me, and she is flying, like, doing incredible. Like, shout out her. This girl is smashing it. And the quality, the guests, the cameras, the fucking editing, it's great. And I found myself looking at it, and like, I was like, damn. A little bit of jealousy came out. And then I was saying to Connor, one of my friends, I was like, that can happen sometimes. And when it happens, you got to grab it. You got to grab that jealousy and turn it back into fuel. Turn it back into inspiration. Because if you don't grab it, it will run off. Because that's something I never shied away from. The fact that I feel jealousy. Because guess what? Everybody fucking feels jealousy. And it's all right to feel jealousy, as long as you grab it before it becomes venomous, before it becomes dangerous. You don't want to lose it. You want to turn it into inspiration. If you do get jealous of someone, catch it and you question why. What are they doing that I want to do? Why do I feel bad about them winning? Because I love other people winning. Same with that girl. She's fucking smashing it. Shout out her. But you catch it and you turn inspiration. Well, she started around the same time as I started. What's she doing that I'm not doing? I was like, right, she's using a studio. I need to use a studio. Click my fingers, studio. Okay, number one. Number two, her quality in the videos are always great. 2. 3, guess, I can do that. I got that covered. So it's just like lining out. They can do it, I can do it. And removing, it can be tough to remove this sometimes, but when you do something and you feel like the algorithm just won't give you anything, it's just like the ceiling, and no matter what, you just can't seem to feel like you push through. It's like almost like this cloud or ceiling, that imaginary. You gotta just fucking smash it, smash through the ceiling. But you have to smash through it and not let the imaginary ceiling or whatever that's created in your mind stop you. So, over the year, yeah, it's been therapy. It's been getting to chat to people. Getting to chat to people that I've always wanted to chat to. That's one of the biggest things. Like, oftentimes I'll see someone online or meet someone and I was like, damn, I wish I could just sit down with you and have a conversation. Because I know we get along and I know we both learn some really valuable things. So the podcast is me getting to do that. I get to think of someone I would love to have a conversation with and I make it happen. And a great example of that is Stevie Ray, who I had on there last week or 2 weeks ago. I hit him up. So I've known about his music for like 2-3 years. And I hit him up in January, guys, right? So this is like why this podcast will go exactly where I think it is. Where is it going? I'll answer that in a second. I'd known about Stevie Ray since 2022. I'd hit him up just saying I'd liked his music. I hit him up January of this year, asking him would he like to come on the podcast. And that wasn't the right time for him to come on. He was busy. He wasn't really doing any interviews or whatnot. Then I tapped back in February. Still wasn't the vibe. Waited to April, tapped back in. Still wasn't the vibe. Completely fine. Ended up doing it in July. And the mentality of sometimes someone doesn't want to do a podcast, that's totally fine. But sometimes you have to catch someone at the right time, wherever their life's at or wherever their career's at or their personal life. You just have to get them at the right time. And that's the thing with this podcast. The accessibility to anyone just becomes unlimited. And who you can have a conversation with is just amazing. Like I had John Kilmer, who is many things you'll hear in the podcast: videographer, podcaster, filmmaker, many things. Known a lot for his work with Mike, the artist, formerly known as Mike Stud. But I remember back in 2016, watching their show that they had on Prime at the time. It's like a documentary thing. And then becoming a big fan of Mike's music, becoming a fan of John and their podcast together. And I was like, damn, man, I'd love to chat to them too, because I know I just have a great conversation. We just have a great laugh. Because I just know when I click with people. I know when I could have a great conversation with someone. I also know when I could click with someone. And I was like, man, I could definitely kick these lads. To then going to the Mike concert, and I met him for the first time, and then ended up getting him on the podcast. Man, and you know what's fucking brilliant about this? The coolest part about this is when I met him in New York at the show, he was just walking around and just said hello to him and whatnot, shook his hand. And in my mind, it was so funny. I didn't say this. I just said hello and whatnot. I must tell him sometime when I chat to him next. But in my mind, I was like, you don't know it yet, but we're going to do a podcast together. In my mind, like. And yeah, a couple of weeks later, did the podcast. And it's that mentality. The mentality of what you're pushing out of when you believe things are unlimited. And like that there's just no ceiling to anything. And it can be very hard to do that sometimes when things aren't working how you directly envisioned or anticipated them working. But it's so true. And that's why when I think of this podcast, and I beat myself up a little bit, like the quality of the recordings or the video, or I got to 28 in the 28 episodes since it started, so nearly every like second week or something, which isn't too bad. It's not every week though. I have to catch myself and realize I was like, wait, I know what I need to do with this, and I do know how to do it, and I can do it. I can tick all the boxes and really bring this to where I believe it can. And it's such a pivotal part of my life now. Like, it's really a pivotal, like a good week involves me doing a podcast. And even I'm doing it now and I haven't done one in a month. And I realized, Man, I love doing this. I love it so much. I love it so much that it's worth the fucking edit that I'm gonna have to do tomorrow morning, or 2 hours edit or whatever. Um, I love oh, did I spill my tea? I love this podcast so much, and I love anyone that listens to this podcast. And whenever I get overwhelmed, how we doing? We're on 35 minutes. Pretty standard, guys. You know the solo domos usually do about an hour long. All right. Anyhow, yeah, the train of thought. That's why I'm not getting bogged down by where I'm currently at and my listenership or whatnot, because I appreciate all my listeners, and I know what it takes to bring this to the next level. And man, it's so cool sending the podcast to the mother and have her listening to it. Or time capsules. Every episode is a time capsule. Like every episode. And it's really tremendous because I was chatting to this girl, Orla. Shout out Orla. I don't know if you're listening to her. Shout out Orla. She does listen to some of the podcast. Legendary. And I don't know how I mentioned it, but I mentioned about our business. And she was like, oh, do you have any artists they might know of? And I was like, yeah, we do work with a couple artists, you know. Couple big artists. So, like, we get to work with Atlantic Records and, you know, Universal, and work with some of the biggest artists in the world. Like, our artists are some of the biggest, the ones we get to like run social media campaigns from and rollouts are some of the biggest artists in the world with the biggest songs. Like, bruh, do you know how many times I'm just going somewhere and the song comes on the radio? I'm like, yeah, we're working that song. Like, we're playing a part, be it a small part in the grand scheme. Sometimes not a small part though. Sometimes a big part. But be it a small part or a big part, it'll come on the radio and I'll go, yeah. Gotta post a batch of videos that later or whatnot. Like, that's our business. Like, that's us doing that. That's fucking amazing. We're in Brooklyn, just past Williamsburg, I think a bit, and we're in a thrift store, and one of the artists comes on. I'm like, oh yeah, I work with that artist team. That's pretty cool. And I think that's contagious. It drips into the podcast. It drips into everything I do, because a year ago when I moved in with my friends and we were building our business, moved in my friend's family and him, and that's what we focused on, to build the business to where we are now in like a year. Bruh, life-changing. And about to be even more life-changing. Like I said it in the New York episode about looking over New York City and thinking how my life has gone. Because in the last 5 years, I beat myself up. But man, it's a balance, because there's so many flaws now. You do gotta celebrate your wins, but I do be thinking of like, well, you haven't figured that out. But I figured out a lot, you know. I figured out how to stay disciplined with my work, how to stay disciplined with my health. I started a podcast, which I've done, this will be 29 episodes that have helped people. I've got to a great level with my music. I'm starting to release music again. 11th October, guys, Dancing in the Rain. It's a fucking banger. We back, the ocean back. I have the best friends around me that want to see me grow. I'm financially beginning to put myself on the right path of the path to becoming rich. Because that's the goal. The goal is to be rich and comfortable, like, no doubt about it. That's one of the goals. And that's very possible. Like, it's very possible. So I'm not I'd say I'm at the beginning of the path. Like I was like, right, okay, this is how money works. I'm not balling, guys. I ain't balling. I know I'm rocking the Ralphie. You say, man, you ain't balling, but you walking that Ralphie, eh? New York, New York. Yeah, I got it in the charity shop, guys, for a tenner. I don't be wearing Ralphie to make me look like I'm balling. I be wearing Ralphie because I genuinely love the fucking brand. I think it's so cool. Ralphie and Lacoste. Yeah, when I did get 2 Lacoste jumpers off Depop there the other day, and that did cost me €50, which to a lot of people, and they're nice tops. I got such a deal on them, like they were brand new, and the ladies just didn't want them, and she was giving them away for nothing. To a lot of people, man, €50 isn't a lot, bruh. I still think €50 is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, €50 goes like that now. Like, geez, I got a shop today, and it was a lot more than €50. But at the same time, like, I just don't spend money on material that often. So I don't really spend much on clothes. But I do be looking fresh, though. I do be looking fresh. Hey, you know what they say? You can give everyone the clothes in the world, but you can't give everyone taste. All right then. Anyhow, so that's some general bits there about the potty, mother getting to hear the podcast, the time capsule, just about. I was mentioning the business there, and how when I listen back, I know exactly where I was a year ago in my life with the business, with my music, with my mental health. And that's another thing I figured out. Like, I figured out a lot of how I work. Like, I have my own issues and problems, but a lot of my general day-to-day just relies on me being healthy and energetic. You know? That's what it relies on. Me being healthy and energetic and eating well, good sleep, hydrated, exercise. I do have issues, like everyone does, but as time goes on, I realize that, a lot of my obstacles are nothing more than the solution is keeping a great routine, a really great routine. But easier said than done. Easier said than done. And coming into the good routine, this last 2 weeks has been shite. Just letting work control me, not controlling work, getting up late, just the bad habits. And again, getting frustrated, getting angry, starting an argument because I'm angry. And man, I was walking down the street and I was scrunched. My face was scrunched like this. And I was like, get the fuck out of my way. When I was walking down the street, I was like, man, damn, fuck that. I was like, I do not want to be that person. Because when I'm walking down the street, 9 times out of 10, I see someone like that. I'm like, would not want to be you. Whatever fucking perspective or whatever glasses you're looking at, would not want to be in your shoes, brother. Yeah, just mad at the world. And it's so easy. You find yourself slipping into it so easy if you get in a bad track of days where you start getting pissed off at the world and pissed off at people, and something goes wrong and then something else goes wrong. Nah, man. Can't be having it. I can't be having that. Especially as like I get older. Because as you get older, it's like you find more things you can give out about. Do you get me? It's like there's more things you can be mad about. All you have to do is look outside or turn on your phone. Or all you have to do is look outside, turn on some good music, get a cold shower. I will say something stupid I did. I did something awfully stupid there last weekend. So I had a bad week and I just needed I needed to do something to release. So I'm back in the gym now and back jogging, but I just needed something really tough. So I was like, I'll go for a swim. Now, going for a swim isn't tough, but it was cold. So I was like, yes, the seawater just to flush out the system, feel good, cleanse the soul. Now, as I got on the dirt, it looked a bit stormy. And I'm like, hopefully it isn't too bad. But no matter what, I'm getting in the water. Ain't nothing stopping me from getting in that water. I don't give two shits. Got there. Seen it was stormy as fuck. But the sea was stormy, but it wasn't raining. It was like dark clouds, but it wasn't raining. Went down. I seen some other guy that was getting changed that made me feel a bit more comfortable. Sorry, I'm stuttering. So fuck it. Went down. Oh, guys, don't ever do this. Don't ever do this. But got my clothes off, into the shorts, and just went down the steps and held on to the railing, dipped my head for like a minute or two. But man, it wasn't safe. The fucking waves were battering. Oh, bruh. Got out. Then I was like, I need to go in for another minute. And the second time I went in, I didn't go into the water. Just clarify. I just held the railings and let the fucking water splash me. But a wave hit and like, bruh, it pushed me. And I was like, wasn't going to let go of the railing, but I was like, bruh, you could easily get fucking hit by a wave and boom, you're in the water struggling. Because like, I am nowhere comfortable enough of a swimmer to qualified of a swimmer to be able to swim what that was. Now, I will say, some guy, as I was getting out, got in with snorkel gear. It looked like something he was out of Scooby-Doo or something. But he got he got to the water. My vocals are doubling up here. That's why I keep repeating myself. I put my headphones. And I was like, geez, I hope to God that guy's a qualified swimmer, because I hope you don't expect me to go in after him. Got out anyways, and some guy came up to me and was like, oh, did you go in already? And I was like, yeah, I did. And he's like, oh, I was thinking of going in. And I was like, yeah, man, just be careful. Just if you're going to go in, just be careful. Like, even if you're holding the rail, like, it's fucking tough. So I did that, and I did feel so much better. So much better. And I didn't smoke. Fucking didn't smoke. Great. Anytime where I go through a period of getting stressed and I don't smoke is a W, man. It's a W. So I didn't smoke, because if I did smoke last week, I would have started in another old string of weeks smoking. Not good for an athlete like myself. All right then. So yeah, did that. Now, in hindsight, it was so stupid. Like, it was very dangerous doing that. So I'm never going to do that again. But at that moment in time, it's all good saying hindsight and you shouldn't have done something. But at that moment in time, it's what I needed to do. I needed to get in the water. I just needed to get in the water. And I did. So that was that. It was funny too, because I can't remember the cafe. It's at the Dún Laoghaire Baths, the cafe there. And I'd say if any of them saw me, they would have been like, what a retard. What a dummy. What a guy. What a guy. What a great guy. Great guy. Bit stupid, but great guy. So that was that. Going doing an activation with my boy Jerry Hussey. Jerry Hussey. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. So I have to be up early for that. I'll probably be up like 5:30. Go out to Dún Laoghaire. Bear me. And that'll be great fun. That'll be great crack. So I'm excited for that, and then have a conversation with him about the potty. So that would be good fun. That'd be very good fun. And fucking a year of the podcast. I was going through, and I think I've done 15 interviews, which is mad. And what's it helped? It's helped my conversational skills so much, because I don't feel like there's anybody I couldn't have a conversation with now. From even, okay, when it comes to that, like obviously neuroscience scientists and fucking like, I don't know, doctors, that will take another level of articulation and wisdom and experience. But I feel like I've jumped in the deep end, or if an opportunity came up to interview someone really big, like I thought to myself, would I be able to interview Jordan Peterson and have a fresh, unique conversation? Because I was saying to my friend Matthew, it's anybody can interview somebody that's never been interviewed. Actually, cap on that for a second, because no, they can't. It's actually very difficult sometimes to interview someone who's never been interviewed. So let me give myself props there. I guess what I'm trying to say is often it's easier to interview someone who hasn't been interviewed many times, because you're getting a fresh story, versus interviewing someone that's been interviewed many times, because like they're just going to give you the same thing. So how are you going to formulate questions and a conversation to withdraw or to inspire a new conversation, a new story, a new conversational dynamic, I guess? So if I thought to myself, if I was to interview Jordan Peterson tomorrow, could I do it? And I fucking could do it. And I think I could hold my own. But I know I need to do a lot of work in order to make that a great episode. And like when I have 50 on, or when I have Mike or Mike Posner, like actually here. So yeah, let's just go through who will be on the podcast over the next couple of years. And I say will be on the podcast because there's no reason they won't be on the podcast. So it'd be nice to revisit this actually too when I get them on the podcast. So we have Mike Posner. That'll be great. We have 50. That'll be a dream come true. When that happens, that'll be amazing. Like, man, when that conversation, walking into the room, meeting them, damn, that's probably the ultimate episode is the 50 episode. Like that I feel when I get to that stage and interview 50, that will inspire the next phase of the podcast, because that would have been like my ultimate personal to get on the podcast. So I was kind of realizing, once you hit certain things you want to accomplish with something, what would keep you going after that? Because let's worry about that when we get there, okay? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But anyhow, back to future guests. So we're going to have 50 on. That'll be great. What year we're in now? We're in 2024. So I foresee that happening in like 4 or 5 years. I feel like 4 or 5 years, I feel that I will be in the position to make that happen. It may be a bit longer, might be 6 years. I feel 4 to 5 years, I feel I'll be in that position where it makes sense. And then will it happen or not? It will just come down to dynamics and come down to scheduling. But I truly believe that will be around that time period. So we'll have 50, Mike Posner. I see that happening within the next year. I'm already putting in the groundwork to make that happen. That's going to be a great conversation, just because my admiration and love for Mike and his journey and how long I've been following and his ups and downs. That will be a great bucket list. Mike, formerly known as Mike Stud, that will be a wonderful conversation that I'll smile. I feel like that will be in a forest. I said this previously, or like a sunny background somewhere in Morocco or somewhere in the South Italy or something like that. That'd be something crazy. Jordan Peterson, I think, would be great from an intellectual standpoint, just to be able to hold a conversation with someone of that intellect. The intellectuals, I think more intellectuals. I think a lot of great rappers, pop stars. Who else? Gaga. I think I'd love to have a conversation with Gaga. Frank Lampard. That would be a great conversation. Didier Drogba, another personal one. It's not something I think about too much, because they're not really the main source of inspiration of the podcast. It's just incredible guests I'd love to get on the podcast. They're not what drives the podcast. Like having certain guests on doesn't drive the motivation to do the podcast. It's more, while I did speak about getting to have a great conversation with people, it's more the messaging that drives the podcast. Having this great conversation with people is one of the inspirations, but the driving force is just the message of the podcast. So who else would I like to have on the podcast? I don't know. They're just some. They're just some that comes to mind off the top of the dome. There's many more. Like there's many. I'm trying to think now. Who else would I like to get on? It's a funny question when you start asking. My boy Teddy. Yeah, once you get Teddy, that'll be a good conversation. I get Teddy on the podcast. Teddy Soons at some point. That'll be good. Shout out my boy Teddy, man. Shout out to boy Teddy. And yeah, who else? I'm trying to think now. It's a funny when you put me. I feel like I'd love to have a conversation with Sandra Bullock. I think that would be cool. Sandra Bullock would be a nice one. And yeah, tons more, man. There's so many more. There's so many more. I just have to think. Joanne McAnally. That would be a funny one. Joanne would be a funny one. That would be a funny one. Yeah, I think that would be a good laugh. Man. So yeah, there are just some names there for you that I think would be a good laugh. But yeah, as I said, the driving force really of the podcast is, well, I get to have great conversations, is the messaging and what it's about. And that's why sometimes when I come on the podcast, if I haven't been like really kind of upping my growth, then I don't feel like I'm doing it justice, because the wisdom and the worth of the podcast is kind of determined on how much I work on myself. Does that make sense? And the more I work on myself, the more I can give back. So I don't know if that's a healthy way to look at it, but it kind of feels like that sometimes. The more I work on myself, and that's why it's helped me grow so much, because I've had to work on myself in order to be able to give anything back. Because if you don't work on yourself, then like, what do you have? If you're not working on yourself, how the hell are you going to tell anyone else things to work on? And I do say a lot of the time, I try not to preach for the most part, but it's more of like, I talk, and like, if you can take something from it, that's dope. If you can't, that's okay. But if I don't work on myself, then I can't give. I have to like keep working and discovering things about me and my journey in order to like relay it back to the podcast and kind of nitpick it and go, here, I think this is valuable. I think if you take something from it, it might help you. So there is that, like, I think that's a good pressure to have, because it keeps me on my toes. And also keeps me on my toes with living. And I mentioned this before, but I have to live. If I'm not living, then what do I have to speak about? The same with working on myself. And that was a big driver over the summer. I just realized if I don't do things, if I don't live, then I don't have anything to speak about. And not that the podcast is directly would make me go do things to make memories, but it would be on my mind of like, I need to, it's not like, doesn't make me do it or trigger me and enable me to do it. It just kind of like reminds me of like, oh yeah, you should do that. Not for the reason solely of the podcast, but for the reason of that's a great thing to do. Go live and make memories. So it's an icing on the cake. It's a W, because the podcast benefits from that. So like I have to live, and that's a great thing, because I have this great line I wrote recently. It's like, let me see if I can get it. I'm working while you sleeping and living life while you working. We came from the same place, but we're not the same person. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to get up early and get all my work done, get everything done, so then I can go and live, you know? Go and live. Make memories. That's what life's for. Like, you work to have that purpose and get yourself into a place. But if you're not enjoying the fruits of life, then what use is the work, really? Because the work will give you fulfillment and it'll give you satisfaction and financial security. But like, for me, I need that. But I also need life. I need to go surfing. I need to visit a new country. I need to meet new people. I need to jump in the ocean, because stuck in my laptop, it doesn't matter if I make 100 grand tomorrow. If you offered me like to make 100 grand this month, but you weren't allowed to leave your house for like 4 months, would I take it? I don't know. It's not sure about deal when you think about it. But you know what I'm on about. I need to leave my work to do things, to live, to experience. Because the quest and the purpose is important, but living is just as important. It really is. It's just as important as the purpose and quest. For me, it's just as important. I need the quest, the purpose in my life, the drive, the ambition, and I also need the experience. Because if I don't do one of them, if I do one more than the other, I feel I do a disjustice to myself. I need to a large amount of both. And you can. And that's what I've been doing, just planning things, going to Morocco and I'm not doing the marathon, which I'm not too sad about. It's okay. I'm in the gym, I'm running. My knee's a little bit funny, but I'm in the gym and I'm running, but I'm not doing the marathon, which is perfectly okay. I will get in one next year. But I am going to Morocco. I am going to Morocco in November, so that's going to be beautiful. I'm going to Bradford, Leeds next month, so that's exciting. What else am I doing? I might go to Poland or something in December. That'd be cool. And then, if you're this far in, this is something cool that I'm thinking of doing. I'm thinking of doing 2 months in Morocco next year, January, February. Then doing 2 months in New York, March, April, and then doing the summer in London. So that would be January, February, Morocco, March, April, New York, and then May, June, July, August in London. Now that's kind of like, will be determined on like a few things, but I'm thinking of just doing it, because why not? Because I don't need to be in one place, and as I say, I'm on the path now to like financially being in a better place where I can afford to maybe move to a country like and live there for a month or two or something. I was like, why not? I'm 27. Why wouldn't I go to Morocco for 2 months and live there if I can? What's stopping me? Is it fear? Comfortability? Do it. Why not? And even, it's funny because I'm going to look back on this when I'm 70, 80, and I'll see what I actually end up doing, how the plan goes, because this is just something I'm trying to put together. But that could be determined, obviously, way on alternative factors and whatnot. But I was thinking, when I'm 70 or 80, like, I'll look back and I'll think to myself, damn, remember that year? I was thinking of, like, by my grandchildren, and I was like, they'd be like, Grandpa, did you really move to Morocco just for 2 months, just for the crack? And I'll say, yeah, I did. I really did. It's like, tell us about that year. And I'll be able to think back and think about that year. I went here, did this, did that, and whatever I got myself into. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of just doing, and then New York, like doing 2 months. And it's very separate experiences and time periods. Like going from Morocco to New York is man, if I do it, I'll be going from living like a king in Morocco to like hustling and trying to figure out how you actually make it in New York for 2 months. And just spending the week in New York, like I think it'd be great to spend just 2 months there and try to access as much as I can in that period. Just go at it for them 2 months, just on a 2 month run, and really enjoy it and feel the city for them 2 months and get a swing of it. So that'd be something cool. So that's what I'm kind of working on in my head, trying to figure out how I'll put that together, how much money I'd need for that, what I'd need, resources, all sorts of resources, what type of mindset I'd have to be in. Because if I'm moving somewhere by myself, that's something I always want to do, but that's a big thing for me. Like, I've never lived by myself. that would be huge. Like, I've never spent time in another country by myself. I went to Berlin when I was like 19 for a week. It was like a solo trip, but I knew a guy over there briefly, but like that's the only time I've ever really done that. Apart from that, I've been kind of surrounded by my friends and family for most of my entire life. Now, I will say I did, when I lived in Dublin, that was basically by myself, but I didn't have the correct mental health. I didn't have the bare means of standard mental health to be able to deal with that. And it was super weird. It was the period was 2017 to 2018, and I actually I didn't sleep much the Thursday night. Last Thursday I ended up being up really late, and then I got up early. I did my work or whatever. It was like 3:00, so I got everything I needed to do, most of it. So I was like, all right, I'll just take a nap. But like, I never fucking go under the covers for a nap. I try not to ever go under the covers for a nap. I'll just lie on my bed because I work like from home. I'll just lie in my bed. I won't go under the covers. But I was like, oh, I'm so fucking tired. Let me go under the covers first, nap. And I woke up and I was like, damn. I felt, because that's what I used to always do. I used to always just sleep to run away from my worries and troubles when I was in Dublin in Rathmines era from like 2017, 2018, that period, like 9 months. It'd be just like 5:00 in the day and I'd be sleeping because I wouldn't want to get up because I was just so scared of the world and depressed and stuff. And I was like, and I could feel that. I wasn't in the same situation or scenario, but I could feel, I remembered what it was like. I remembered what it was like being in them emotions and that mindset. And it was very vivid. It hadn't been vivid for a long time. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but something that did happen, sometimes when I go into my naps, I'm able to access my subconscious. I think I did speak about this, but it happened again recently where I fell into it. I was a bit more comfortable now when I woke up the other day and I could feel the emotions and stuff. I was a bit more comfortable, but I just jumped into certain scenarios in my head, my conscious, and I was like, nope, still not comfortable to be able to go back to there. Which means I still haven't healed it. I think that's one of my biggest worries. That I can't remember he's a philosopher, but he's on about, amongst many things, I think he's a doctor too, he's many things, but I can't remember his name. But he was on about the program and how your subconscious is the program. And if you don't work on your program, then no matter what you think and how you try to fix your life, it just won't work. You really have to access the program. I guess it would be like watching TV, and if you don't fix your remote control, you're just watching the same program over and over again on the TV. And no matter what you do, you could start screaming, shouting, doing everything to change the channel. But unless you actually figure out how to fix the remote control, you won't be able to switch the channel. And that's what like the subconscious is, your remote control, fixing the program, like what's actually deep and down inside of the way you work, the way you deal with a situation. And I think one of my worst worries is that I have so much stuff buried, or what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, buried, just deep down, that it is the reason that I still don't break through the barriers. Like even with the podcast, I was like, why have I let certain mistakes slip? Why have I put out an episode where the mic wasn't right? Why did I not edit that correctly? Why didn't I book a studio? And I was like, well, because you kind of have a mentality of done is better than perfect. But while done better than perfect is a great mentality, your done is just thrown together. I was like, where does thrown together come from? Why do you think things just thrown together will work? And I began to unravel. I was like, well, it's probably because of that I think that just thrown together deep down is better than nothing. And then understanding that, and then trying to apply the habits of rewiring that, like, just thrown together isn't better than nothing. Like, you have to put something great together. And so just things like that, or why I'll put off responsibilities, why I won't do something. Because of how I view it, I'm like, I'll just bury it and distract myself with something. Why do I do that? Why do I keep distracting? I have this responsibility I need to do, but I'll find something to distract myself. And even when I'm distracting myself, I'll be thinking about what I'm supposed to do, but just ignoring it, ignoring the voice. Just figuring out why I do things like that and fixing my program so I can control my life. Guys, having actual control over your life versus just being moved like the puppet. Like having actual control, not letting your fears or your instilled subconsciously things you've been instilled, like ways of life. What's the terminology I'm looking for? Ways of life or mantras, like negative things that have been instilled from when you were young, control you. Like with relationships, I was thinking too, I'm very thankful to have grown up with great relationships around me. So I feel I'm at the point now where I'm in control of the person I'm attracting, versus in the past I wouldn't. Like, I think a lot of people aren't actually in control of who they're attracting, because that's why they maybe keep attracting the wrong person. It's like, them people who get into relationships and they always seem to get with a bad girl or a bad guy that is like these reoccurring negative habits or negative themes in their personality. And yes, the person's like, why do you keep doing that? And the person says, I don't know, I just seem to like always get with that type of person. Well, you are, because you're not in control. You're not in control of understanding and controlling what you're actually attracting and why you're attracting it. Why do you keep attracting the wrong person? Why are you what's so attractive about them parts of their personality? Is it familiarity? Because once you take control, you start to attract a different type of person, I would say. When I feel like it's like on the dartboard. It's like when you're not in control of your life, your subconscious is in control, it's throwing where the dart lands. And you think you're throwing it to hit the triple 20 or bullseye, but it's literally controlling it. But the second you actually begin to take control of the dart, which is your life, you start moving with precision and start hitting the triple 20s or hitting the 20s, because even the 20s is good. Maybe the odd bullseye and a nice fucking finish. It's when that's the moment. But up until you take control of like what's actually happening deep down, until you understand yourself, understand your habits, why you do things, why you make mistakes, why you ignore things, up until then, it's just subconscious, whatever is on that program is controlling where that dart goes. And as frustrated and as best as you think controlling the dart, you're not controlling it. You're just on autopilot. But once you get on pilot, break through that. Oh, fucking become the pilot. Who's controlling the fucking plane? I'm controlling the plane. Yeah. The plane with the Ocean Flight 1 had straight full potential with 0 delays. So that's just something there. That's just something there about controlling your life. And that's why it's frustrating for me, because I dip in and out of that. I dip in and out being in control of my life, and it's like, it's probably one of my most frustrating things of, I'm in control, ooh, I'm out of control, I'm in control. And the more I've gotten control can be easily seen of where I've put myself on my path. Because I wouldn't be where I am now without the great work I've put in and the great characteristics and the credibility and the authenticity and reliability. So it's directly looking at what you have done and just believing and working towards doing more. Yeah. How are we looking for time there, guys? What are we on? 1:15. I do believe that might be one of the longest episodes of a Solo Dolo. Yeah. I think we'll come and bring it to a close there. It's always healthy to talk about our life and emotions. Yeah. But anyways, that brings episode, what are we, 29 to a close. Is it 28 or 29? 29, I think. Yeah, episode 30 coming with John Kilmer. Huge. Great behavior. Great. Guys, great guy. Yeah, very excited. Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for listening to any of the episodes. And yeah, guys, as I always do tell you, I'm rooting for you. Who's rooting for you? I'm rooting for you. Take control. Break through whatever. Break through the subconscious. And to the light. Don't drink the Kool-Aid though. Don't drink that fucking Kool-Aid. I'm telling you, boy, don't drink the Kool-Aid. I got to work on some new voices because I feel like I've been just rerunning the same voices. Let me work on a new character. Yeah, that'll actually something now for the next solo. I'll work on a new character voice. Guys, as I told the old lady, creating characters, that's a bit weird, worrying. But if you're a creative person, that's a beautiful thing. You're being creative. One's mentally ill, one's creative. Ooh, they blur the lines. Come on, right. That's been another episode of the One Step at a Time podcast. My voice broke. The One Step at a Time podcast. On the 1 year anniversary. Let's go for another year, eh? Let's go for another 5 years. I've been your host. Guys, don't have a good time. Do not have a good time. Do not have a good day. Have a great day. Have a great time. Go on, love you lots. Hey, get out of here, you silly rascal. Go on. God bless. Bye-bye.